good afternoon, good evening, good night, but most importantly, welcome to another edition of the Kakutougi Fightcast, which is brought to you by the Kakutougi Fight Forum, which you could find on the internet at kakutougi.proboards.com. I'm the Fightcast MC, my name is Darren Falco, and there's plenty of topics we can verbalise about today, but I think it's important to start with a little bit of housekeeping. If you can recall, if you listened to the last Fightcast that I did, I provided a small quiz for anybody who wished to do so could enter and have a little bit of fun. I'm pleased, in inverted commas, to reveal that that quiz engendered absolutely zero response, so pleased about that. But just in case anybody out there did attempt to have a go at it and not answer on the requisite channels, I'll just tie up the answers for you. Question number 1 of what the quiz was going to call the Furious 5. I don't know if I'll bother doing any more in the future, to be honest. Answer to question number 1, which was, what was the original name for the mixed martial arts group, the Brazilian Top Team? It was originally going to be called the Brazilian Dream Team, which would have meant that there would have been probably 2 Dream Teams at the time in Brazil, because around about that time, Anderson Silva, who split from Shootbox around about 2004, I think it was, he and another disgruntled former Shootbox member, Asuerio Silva, decided to start up the Muay Thai Dream Team, but that lasted all of about 6 months, I think, before they went their separate ways, and Anderson Silva went on to become something of a mixed martial arts legend. Anyway, that's question number 1. Question number 2 was former world heavyweight champion Riddick Bowe was once sponsored by 2 major sports firms. How about that? A heavyweight champion of the world being sponsored by major companies. Who'd have thought it? Number 2, that was the answer to those were Fila, F-I-L-A, and Sergio Tacchini. Question number 3, the 2004 heavyweight Grand Prix for Pride was scheduled to have a Japanese heavyweight who did not take part eventually. Who was it? It was pro wrestling and MMA superstar Yoshihiro Takayama. Question number 4 was the inaugural UFC event in November 1993 was scheduled to have at least one kickboxer who did not take place. 2 spots were offered. One was offered to a North American, one was offered to a European. Who were they? The North American was Dennis Alexio, and number 2, the European, was the great Ernesto Hoost. And finally, the 5th and final question was Mirko Krokop ended up defeating Tatsuya Mizuno at Dream 1 back in 2008, but who was his scheduled opponent originally meant to be? And that was Yoshihiro Kiss Nakao, was the man who was scheduled to be in the opposite corner. All kinds of crazy rumours as to why he didn't eventually turn up, to ranging from that some shady, mysterious men did not want that fight to go ahead. Mysterious men who were at the time in competition with FEG, the parent company of Dream. And there was even one wild story that Nakao was actually kidnapped on his way to when he was going to make his way to the press conference. Don't know if that's true or not, but we do know that Mizuno was a late replacement. Anyway, that's the Furious 5. I would say thanks for having a go, but nobody did. But anyway, that's enough of that. We're going to move on to the topics of today's particular Fightcast. And I think, well, first of all, we'll start off by saying that any European kickboxing fans, and also if those savvy enough to use the internet in its different ways, will be able to watch Eurosport's offering for SuperKombat this coming Saturday, 1st of October, back in their Romanian home. The main event will be the Sheikh Armin Parashchev versus Air Congo. I think he still goes by that nickname. Chris Najimbi. Interesting fight. I think Parashchev should have enough to get the victory there. Probably by decision, maybe by KO, but I wouldn't bet on that whatsoever. The rest of the card, I mean, Sebastian Chiabanu is on. Count Dracula, that is. And a couple of other of the usual names, with the exception, of course, from the ones who have split away from SuperKombat in the past 6 to 9 months. The Stoiker brothers being the main culprits there. We'll be talking about one of the Stoiker brothers in not too long away, actually, thinking about it. Anyway, we're going to start off recapping. We're going to take a look at this past weekend's Kunlun show, which went down the first day, their debut event at the brand new Kunlun World Combat Sports Centre, which is in Beijing. I had a few pictures online I had a quick glance at before we went on air. It does seem to be an amazing piece of structural design, looking at it. It seems to have 3 gyms as well as the arena. It has a rehab centre, which I think is for injuries, not for fighters with substance abuse problems, I hope. And Also, and the most important thing of all, is within spitting distance of the sports centre is, drumroll please, a McDonald's. How about that? McDonald's not too far away from the sports centre. But saying that, it didn't feel any different to any other Kunlun event. And one thing I've got to say against Kunlun is that their events, they seem a bit sterile, in my opinion, that is. And many of you might not agree. I know there are a lot of Kunlun fans out there. Whether they're listening to this, I don't know. But this past weekend's events were, again, a bit indicative of that. The main event, Buakaw, became the very first Kunlun fight Muay Thai golden belt winner with his decision victory over Dylan Salvador. It seems as if both men to me were a bit going through the motions. Especially that it was also definitely applied to the next contest, which was one of the quarterfinals in the Kunlun lightweight tournament, which Kunlun always seemed to be in a constant state of tournament, especially when it comes to the lightweights. This was a rematch of last year's, I think it was semi-final between Sitachai and Super Bon. Sitachai won by knockout. Many of you have got feelings on the outcome of that particular one and how it went down. This one went all the way to a decision, Super Bon getting the decision, and I've got to say, Sitachai especially, not so much Super Bon, but Sitachai, he seemed as if he couldn't wait for the fight to be over. He seemed absolutely knackered before the fight even started. I thought of saying that, though, he just about nicked the opening round. Second round, Super Bon definitely won, and the third round was mostly about Super Bon sweeping and dumping Sitachai to the canvas, which I believe Kunlun, under their quite strange, bizarre scoring system, I think that actually scores. Because I remember watching it live at the time and thought Super Bon did more, but I'm not sure if that was actually in a scoring sense. But I believe, looking at it since, I believe that is the case. I think those sweeps and dumps and trips were scoring matter for the judges. And Super Bon getting the decision. Moving on to the semis. Also, Jomtong Chuatana or Chuatana, however you want to call it, went through the motions, did whatever he had to do, and got a rather simple victory over Tan Chin of China. I think Jomtong is now 5-0 in Kunlun. And big upset, Tongchai Sitsong Pinong, who's recently signed with Glory. There was a lot of internet buzz about that. Tongchai, he picked up a massive upset loss, I think you've got to call it, to Nurla Malali, who is the least Chinese-sounding Chinese fighter probably on Kunlun's books at the moment. Albert Kraus is creaking and crackling and still insists on wearing those unfashionably long kickboxing shorts, but he got the job done against Ma Shuo. Good to see him getting a victory. He's a legend and one of my favourites of all time. And Kayal Zaniev is one of my favourites of the new generation. He got a much-needed victory. He's back on the horse after he's lost to Super Bon last time out. Kayal, I call him the master of the 500 kicks because that's what he seems to throw at just about every fight. Scored a victory over Kong Ling Feng. So that was this past weekend's Kunlun event. This Saturday, October the 1st, sees another big event for kickboxing in China. It's Glory of Heroes 5 going down on Saturday the 1st of October, which is the National Day for the People's Republic of China. And Kunlun, Glory of Heroes are attempting to enter themselves into the Guinness Book of World Records with this event. I'm not quite sure in what category. I'll be in attendance of some description, but I'm not sure which one. Because the event, as far as I can tell, is going down at the Zhengzhou Olympic Centre in Henan. They're hoping for a crowd of, I very much doubt it's going to be paid, it must be said, I think there'll be a fair few freebies, of more than 60,000 at this particular event. Looking down at the lineup, which we'll go through in a second, that to me isn't a 60,000 event show, but it's China and it's totally different there when it comes to sports events from what I can gather. There's 3 MMA bouts, which we'll skip straight past. The kickboxing shows, you're going to be seeing Jin Ying taking on Sergio Wielsen. Sergio's back in Glory of Heroes, hoping to tidy up his record a bit after a loss to Yung Chi at Glory of Heroes 2. Jin Ying and Sergio Wielsen going down at 61 kilos. Israel Adesanya's back out, 85 kilograms. I think he's 2-1 with an MMA win in Glory of Heroes, but I might be wrong on that. He's got Bogdan Stoiker. I told you we'd mention him later on. That's at 85 kilos. Interesting fight, but I've got to go. The Black Dragon for me all the way is going to get the victory. That's my prediction. 68 kilos, Liu Jianbo takes on Federico Piccini. And then Jishang Adai, a new name on me from the host nation. He's got something of an uphill struggle at 68 kilos as he takes on the man, the myth, the legend, Kensaku Maeda, who's hoping to make it 3-zip in Glory of Heroes. And then, about this, the flamboyant Zhao Fukai has got a 72 kilo bout with a man who I can't believe I'm going to say it, from the Netherlands. His name is, apparently, I hope I'm not being trolled on this one, his name is Brown Pinas. Pinas. I don't know a great deal about him. Maybe I should. Maybe he's a member of certain clubs or something, I don't know. But yeah, Brown Pinas versus Zhao Fukai. And 60 kilograms, moving on quickly, Kunlun, I think he's 1-0 in Glory of Heroes, takes on Tananchai Tanakorjim. It's a new one for me. 67 kilos, Luis Passos takes on Glory of Heroes Yang Zhou, who's yet to get a victory, I believe, in Glory of Heroes. Wei Rai, probably my favourite Glory of Heroes fighter at the moment, 65 kilos, takes on Somchai Luamiem. Wei Rai is hoping to make it 5-0 at the moment in Glory, and if it's not the main event, it should be 67 kilograms. The Rolling Tornado, that is Chu Janliang, takes on Elias Boulaid, and that should be a cracker, shouldn't it? Really, I've got to go for Chu Janliang to get the victory, but it would not surprise me if Elias pulled off the upset. But that's the rundown for the events of Glory of Heroes 5. Like we said, 60,000 event, doesn't make any sense. 60,000 attendance, hopefully expected. I don't think they're going to get it, but I've been wrong plenty of times before, and I'm happy to be so again. I think this will be the first one without, I think his name's Guo Dong, the guy I think he gets paid by the word, the host for Glory of Heroes. It seems if he talks just as long as fights last in between the actual contests. I think that'll be the first time that he's going away. Maybe, maybe not. I'm not complaining too much. Got to be said, he's something of a welcome presence. For me, anyway. That's Glory of Heroes touched upon. Kunlun, we've looked at that. And so I've just got to mention something from this past weekend's K1 event, the 60 kilogram World Grand Prix. I haven't seen it myself yet. I like to watch the whole event in full, in its entirety, before I could comment on it. But it's the events which have happened afterwards which I think are really worth mentioning. And speaking of worth mentioning, I think this following information has come from a very informed source when it comes to Japanese combat sports, and that's the Kakutougi.proboards.com member, the member of the forums of Karaya Fan. Good to always read his comments on this sort of thing. He always sheds new light when it comes to Japanese topics. And that was the news that Kensaku Maeda, who was up until this past weekend the executive producer of K1, and it must be said that the Japanese arm of K1 has been doing some sterling work on filling in the holes and the gaps and the damage, almost irreparable damage, that had been done to the K1 brand since FEG was liquidated at the tail end of 2011. K1 Global's had a go at filling in their own gaps, but didn't really go all to plan for me anyway, I thought. Especially the disaster in Thailand, September 2014. Ever since then, I believe they've put on a couple of amateur events. We'll be talking more about K1 Global in a second, but like I said, first of all, we're going to talk about Kensaku Maeda. So he's been doing some good work as the EP of K1 Japan, but that was until this past weekend. It looks like he's been usurped for the man who holds the same sort of position for Crush, and that's Mitsuru Miyata. He is now the executive producer of K1 Japan, which first was said to be due to the potential of conflict of interest. Of course, Maeda is the leader of the Dragon Dojo, which of course houses Takaru, the Urabi brothers, Hideaki Yamazaki, and among others. Conflict of interest there, so maybe it was seen to be all above board that Maeda stepped away, but it turns out it may not be that. There may be something of a coup to get Maeda out and Miyata in, which if that's the case is a bit of a shame, because Maeda has been doing some wonderful things. Miyata has come in, and since that news of a change has come around, the Urabis, Hideaki Yamazaki, Takaru, and a whole host of others have jumped from Team Dragon. Now, as it's speculated at the moment, it could be for several different reasons. One of them could be because they're all going to start up their own gym of their own, away from K1 affiliation. the topic of K1 affiliation, gym affiliation, is something for another time. Maybe when I've got a guest on the show, if I ever do, that would be quite interesting to chat about that. The other reason could be because there's a new organisation which is starting up pretty soon in Japan, kickboxing organisation, I hasten to add, by the name of Knockout. Maybe there's a rumour that perhaps the whole gym has been poached and will be starring in knockout shows pretty soon. That's another rumour. It's all up in the air at the moment. Maybe we can get some definition on this, but all we know for certain is that Maeda has been usurped as the leader of K1 Japan. Mitsuru Miyata, the EP of Crush, or Crush 1, however they're called nowadays, has jumped in and taken over, which seems to have resolved, which seems to have turned out that many of the Team Dragon members have jumped ship. Just to a short review of that. So hopefully that can all be sorted out. Takaru has tweeted that he will be competing on the upcoming November K1 Japan event, but of course there's at least 6 weeks to go before then, so who knows what might happen. But sticking on a K1 tip, we mentioned K1 Global a little while ago. Things have gone ever so quiet from them ever since the debacle in Thailand 2 years ago. But they're coming. Like I said, they've held a couple of amateur events, which probably aren't even worth mentioning, which is probably just a way of putting on shows without having to pay the talent, which is not very nice all round. But they're coming back on the 27th of October in Belgrade, of all places. Don't knock it. It's for a minus 95 kilogram tournament. It's going to be, by the looks of it, it's going to be the traditional 1 night 8 man deal. So far, we've got 6 of the 8 men announced. The host Serbia. Just looking down, who's in the list of the competitors so far. The first man to be mentioned was Mladen Kudanuzic of Croatia, most famous for blasting out, I think it was Bogdan Stojka. No, it was Andre, wasn't it, I believe. On a pretty rapid order, not so long ago. He's something of a hot and cold competitor, is Kudanuzic. And probably the second favourite, I would imagine, to take the tournament out of the 6 names that have been listed so far. Also named is Thomas Sarara of Poland, Emmanuel Payet of France, who's like a weird combination of Emmanuel Petit and Dimitri Payet, who are 2 French soccer / football players. Radi Opacic of Serbia, a new name on me totally, and Andrei Groce or Grozzi of England. Sorry if I got that name wrong, which I probably have. And the pick of the bunch so far for me is the member of Mike's gym, Fabio Chico Quasi of Holland. Still 2 more names to fill out the tournament, and there's also an undercard to be filled in also. Bit of negativity online towards this one. It's bringing down the K1 brand and all that, but I don't think it is. The K1 brand has suffered so much damage over the past 4 years that it's kind of like any event, almost is like a good event, as long as the fighters give their all and they've got a fair bit of quality to them as well, haven't they? You have to say that. You didn't want to rank amateurs fighting under the K1 banner, but I don't think that will be the case. Onwards and upwards, I think, is the mantra for 2016/2017 for Ned Kuric, the top guy at K1 Global. I think he still is. So we're interested to see how that one's going to turn out, whether it will be a one-night tournament or whether that will be split into 2, which seems to be the K1 Global way of things. A couple of years ago, I think Global was saying that they were going to actually step away from the tournament format, but now here we are going straight back in with it again. But again, it's kickboxing, so I'm not going to complain. The next thing I wanted to touch on was, that sounded a bit strange, was the recent Rizin event which went down this past weekend. All sorts of with Rizin, if you've seen their first couple of events, will know it's usually a hodgepodge of the pretty good, the rather bad, and the occasional ugly. What I wanted to quickly chat about was the fact that at the beginning, when the heavyweight tournament started, the heavyweight Grand Prix started, they showed a picture of a graphic, which was the tournament bracket, which seems to be totally different to how things transpired at the end of the night. The graphic showed that the winner will do as from the winner's perspectives, that Mirko Krokop, of course, won his contest against Myung-Hyung Mang, against the mysterious question mark member, which I think everybody kind of assumes that they're trying to get Fedor to enter the tournament, which I can't see him facing 3 fights in 2 nights. So that's the question mark man will face Mirko Krokop. Baruto, who defeated Kakutougi Fightcast, who retired after the tournament, takes on Vadim Nemkov. Simon Bayor, who was the KSW representative, will meant to be facing Yuri Proshaka, and Amir Aliakbari, who was the AKA Thailand entrant, was scheduled to face Vanderlei Silva. But of course, at the end of the tournament, Nobuhiko Takada got into the ring, and it definitely seemed to me caught both Vanderlei and Mirko Krokop by surprise when he suggested that both men fight each other in the quarterfinals, put them on the spot. Mirko's face was a picture when it was translated to him that he was challenged by Takada, would you fight Vanderlei Silva? And of course, in that position, what does he say? Does he say yes, or does he have the gall to say no? I bet he did. Bet he didn't. Excuse me. He said yes to that. Vanderlei, of course, then having his bluff call, had nothing to say but yes. Didn't seem particularly pleased about that. My theory is, I'm going to drop it right now, is that the winner of that one probably will not complete the tournament. I'd imagine that the winner of Krokop and Vanderlei will either pull out on the 31st, because of course the quarterfinals are meant to go down on the 29th. They will pull out on the 31st, either before the semi-finals or before the final. I think that will happen there. Also, Vanderlei, I have no idea how Vanderlei's going to get up to that. Well, we kind of do, but it's going to be difficult for him to doubt he's going to get up to that kind of weight. He seemed to be at least 15 pounds lighter than Mirko at the event, and remember, he hasn't fought for a couple of years now, Vanderlei. Also, something on Vanderlei, every time since he's left the UFC, every time he appears on camera, he seems to have aged 3 years. It's amazing. So that's the heavyweight tournament part of things. Vanderlei versus Krokop, which now, of course, means that the Mystery Man and Amir Aliakbari have had their potential quarterfinals totally and utterly thrown around into disarray. The rest of the card itself, like I said, was a mixture. Is it Arsene Yamamoto? Is it Asen Yamamoto? Or is it Ursen Yamamoto? I've heard 3 different pronunciations or spellings of it. The first thing that hit me is how much Yamamoto Jr. looks facially like Giant Baba, the famous Japanese puroresu figure. It's astounding, really. His fight with Kazayamon Saiga was the pick of the night. Saiga has that weird fight style where he has his hands literally down by his hips, but it works for him. Of course, Saiga's wife is something of a celebrity in Japan. I think with Yamamoto, Saiga, maybe even Kron Gracie, who is unbelievable on the ground when it comes to his jiu-jitsu, rather like his father. If you watch his father at the Valley Tudo Japan events in '94, it's as if he was born on a jiu-jitsu mat. It's incredible how he flows and how fluid he is, and how he dominated somebody like Hideo Tokoro. I mean, Tokoro has been submitted before, of course, and beaten on the ground, but that is his bread and butter. And I was interested in the actual matchup of that one, but it was a washout. Even Kron looked pretty handy with his stand, or his fists, his footwork as well, and his punching. So interesting to see if Rizin have got him under long-term contract or not, or if he's got a few more dates. Like I said, Kron, Asen, Saiga, Reina as well, her fight with Miyu Yamamoto, which was so looked forward to that it was actually got on the cover of Gong magazine in Japan. I think it's a weekly or monthly publication for fight sports. They got on the cover of that. It was main event, of course, Reina and Miyu. There was a real interest in that. There is something for Rizin to build on, but whether or not they've got the time and the money with which to do it, I'm not sure. Hopefully they're going to abandon those ideas of having a seniors league with like Hoist, Ken Shamrock, Sakuraba, all those guys. Hopefully that gets cast asunder. That's just going to drag them down, rather than just get a cheap, quick TV rating, which is, I think, what the whole reason for bringing that on was. The other thing about Rizin was the VTR that's the pre-fight video for Kazuki Fujita and Baruto, was a lot more entertaining than the fight itself. That's an interesting experiment with Baruto. They said that when they first signed him that he was going to be spending time with Akira Shoji and Peter Arts. I think it was one of those deals where rather like when Brock signed with FEG, they said that he'd be training with Hoist Gracie and Matt Hughes. I think he didn't train with Hoist at all, and I think he had like 1 or 2 sessions with Matt Hughes before he decided that's not for me. They often do this in Japan just for publicity reasons, say that X is training with Y to sharpen him up for this, but it doesn't really have to be the case. Even more so when Baruto's debut was against Peter Arts, of course, who was scheduled to be a stand-up trainer. I know it was all put together rather late, but it's just I'm interested to see what the Baruto experiment, how far it's going to be. If he's now in the quarterfinals, of course, of the Rizin Heavyweight Grand Prix, who they're going to pit him up against next. If it's going to be Amir Ali Akbari or Simon Bayor, I don't see his chances being particularly great. It would just be you get taken down almost immediately and padded whilst on his back. They're continuing to build with they've got the other young professional wrestlers. They had some other professional or amateur wrestlers, not professional wrestlers, I got that wrong. Amateur wrestlers who are commentating and in attendance, whether they're going to try and sign those. Wouldn't surprise me, because I believe that one of their Rizin board members is the chairman of the Japanese Wrestling Association, so it wouldn't surprise me to see a few more Japanese amateur wrestlers come on board with Rizin as we go forward. Like we said, December the 29th is Rizin's next event, so where are we now? 27th September, so it's 3 months away, so 3 months to build some interest on that. Hopefully they will do so. Right, I think that's all topics covered for today's Fightcast. And yeah, that's it. That's everything covered. If you've enjoyed it, please let us know in the ways to do so, which is on the Kakutougi Fight forum, which sign up, absolutely free, gratis it is. Takes less than 5 minutes of your time. If you do so, please stop by and say hi to all the gang. Be glad to see you. Also, you can find us on SoundCloud, on YouTube. We are Kakutougi Fightcast on YouTube. Subscribe to us via RSS, and you can also find us on iTunes. If you haven't enjoyed the Fightcast, please keep it to yourself. But like I said, that's all from me. And my name is Darren Falco. Thank you very much if you've listened all the way through. I always say, keep rolling with life's punches, and always remember, keep your gloves up and your chin down. Until next time. Thanks to Patrick very much for his wizardry on this one. Without him, this Fightcast wouldn't be possible. Until next time, us!